Jack Caglione's career night helps the Royals get a much-needed win against the Chicago Cubs and sets up a rubber match Sunday at Kauffman. What's up, you guys? This is the KCSN Live Royals postgame show. I'm Joel Penfield. Kevin O'Brien joining me. A little unexpected. We had this planned for Sunday, but listen, wins are not guaranteed, and especially with this team, there's a good chance they could lose 10-1 tomorrow, and it's a very different conversation. But given the win, the night that Jack had, we had to find a way to make this happen tonight. I shot a little text to our group chat like, hey, anyone interested? Anyone around on a Saturday night? So here we are, and a lot of fun game tonight, obviously, Kevin.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think, there was probably a lot more. I wasn't there at the ballpark, but it sounded like there was a lot more Cubs fans than there were Royals fans. And so it's nice to send the Cubs fans home a little disappointed. But I think, like you said, the biggest story is Jack Caglianone, just a career night with the 4 hits and the 2 home runs and the 2 doubles. I mean, we've kind of seen Jack a little bit going up and down. He really hasn't had a big performance since the All-Star break, since the Home Run Derby. And it was kind of nice to see him really break out again and kind of show why he's the future or part of the future of this Royals team.
Yeah, an unbelievable night for maybe those that weren't able to be as tapped in and just box score watched. It was 4 for 4, 2 homers, 2 doubles, and he alternated homer, double, 4 RBIs. And I don't know if you knew this, but a 4 for 4 day with 2 homers and 2 doubles and 4 RBIs is 1,030 weighted runs created plus for the single game. Bumped it from 110 to 119 in a single game. And to do that with now 422 plate appearances on season with the sample that big to bump the WRC plus number that high is pretty impressive. A lot of game notes here from the Royals post game on this one. He was the 7th Royal in franchise history with 4 extra base hits in the same game. The 4th to do it at Kauffman Stadium, the 1st since Johnny Damon in 2000. George Brett did it in 79, and Hal McRae did it in 74. Tied a career high with 4 hits. First Royal with 12 total bases in a game since Lorenzo Cain in 2016 at Yankee Stadium. First Royals outfielder to hit 20 home runs in a season since Alex Gordon in 2013. Primary outfielder. Because Jorge Soler technically was an outfielder, right, but predominantly a DH.
Correct.
So if you wanted to delineate it a little bit more, you could go to Soler, but primary outfielder, it was Jack. You can keep going here. Second farthest home run hit by a Royal this season, 448 feet. His average home run distance now is 418 feet, which is the farthest in Major League Baseball. Second is William Contreras at 416. His first home run was his 11th 2-out home run this season, second most in the major leagues, next to Kyle Schwarber. He has hit safely in each of the 7 games this month, 7-game hit streak, second longest of his career. He is 12 for 28 in this 7-game stretch, and there's more, but that's the key spots there. I mean, there's obviously a ton, but just shows the full context of what a night he had.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, I had originally posted about Jorge Soler, but you're right. Jorge Soler was mostly a DH, so you have to take that with a grain of salt. And I know Cags has also been playing a lot of first base, but I mean, he is a primary outfielder. When Vinny returns, he's going to be going back to the outfield. And again, since Alex Gordon, I mean, I think one of the biggest Achilles heels for this Royals team, really in the JJ era and for really since kind of the World Series teams, has been outfield production. They really haven't had great outfield production. Even in their playoff season in 2024, you had MJ and Hunter Renfroe as kind of your primary corner outfield production, and Caglianone has kind of come in. And I get it, like, there's still some flaws. He could walk more. He strikes out a lot. The whiff rate is a little high, but you kind of live with those things because of nights like tonight when he's locked in. The power is unbelievable. We saw that with his 2 home runs, especially that first one. And, when even in balls that are out of the zone, he was able to really make a lot of production on it. It's really exciting. I think especially in a lost year like this is why you still watch the games, right? This is why we still watch the games, is because these moments, it's great. Okay, Seth Lugo had a quality start. Whoopee. But, when Cags is able to have a 4-hit night tonight, that's kind of showing us that, like, all right, there's some optimism for 2027 and beyond.
Yeah, it still gives you a level of intrigue to watch these games. Guys like him, Carter, as he continues to kind of figure out, he's been scuffling a little bit. I think he's kind of hitting a little bit of a rookie. But again, but the defense is still pretty solid and improving. So you at least have that going forward that, we kind of know what the offensive output can be. It's more about the defense. Bobby Wood Jr. makes the play like he did tonight defensively. Obviously, he's been great. But Jack is kind of the price, worth the price of admission for games like this. But it's been kind of quietly not talked about a ton. But, like, he was not good in July at all. Even before the home run derby and then even after. Hit 222, 237, 378 in July after hitting 309, 387, 649 slash in June. He has walked twice since the calendar flipped to July. In, what is that? Probably a little over 110, 115 plate appearances.
Yeah.
I know that he's not going to walk a ton. I'm not asking him to walk 12, 13% of the time, but he can't go full Salvador Perez. Yep. Like, Salvador Perez is the exception, not the rule, to make a 15-year big league career at swinging at everything. Like, he's got to rein that part of it in. And he only struck out 19 times in July. So it's not like the strikeout number inflated to this crazy number, but the lack of walks and some of the batted ball stuff, it was like, oh boy, like, he's got to figure some of this out. And that's part of this. And I had thought about maybe doing a deeper dive on kind of the ups and downs of the season. Because if you look, he's been every other month, basically, for the entire season. In April and the couple of games in March, it was a 731 OPS.
Yes.
Which was kind of getting going a little bit. And then in May, it was a 638. And then in June, it was 1,036. And then in July, it was 614. And now going into tonight, because Baseball Reference hasn't updated yet, it was an 875 OPS. That's obviously going to increase quite a bit because we're still early in the month. It might get around to 1 dot.
Yeah.
But I think all of this to say, long road to a short point, he is still a flawed player, a raw player that is still figuring a lot of this out. But on nights like this, it makes you really like, oh, this is why his ceiling is so high. This is why you believe in the guy as we move forward with his career, and why you don't give up on a dude with his type of tools after a year and a half in the big leagues. Like, he's obviously not going to go 4 for 4 with 2 bombs every night, but he shows you in these moments, like, man, pitchers can't make mistakes to him, because if they do, he's going to park it. And Haas said it on the broadcast after his third at bat, because he got an end zone sinker from Holmes that he parked, and then it was a slider down that he hit for the double, and then he hits the second double, and I think it was Haas on the broadcast said, I would be shocked if he gets another end zone fastball. Like, he is clearly dialed in. Sure enough, Ray just throws a cutter that doesn't cut, and then he parks that one too.
Right.
So this is where I think he needs to learn. Pitchers are not going to throw him much, like, especially with the way that this lineup is kind of behind him. This is where I want to see him learn to be a little more patient, figure that side of it out. Not so patient that he's, not swinging at 2-1 heaters or 3-1 heaters, but take some walks. Like, show that he can have this more patient approach and show that maturation as we move forward. And I feel like we'll see a little more here.
Yeah, one of the things I've kind of noticed about him, and I think we saw this in the beginning of the month, was that he was being a little bit more intentional with taking more pitches. I know when he came back after his IL stint last year, he was being a little bit more passive. But that's kind of the problem, is he was being a little too passive. He was letting a lot of balls that he probably should have hit, and they were becoming just strikes. And he was he was drawing more walks, but he wasn't hitting the home runs or the extra base hits. It kind of seems like starting in June, things kind of clicked. And then he kind of said, you know what, I'm going to be more aggressive. I am going to go after more pitches, even if they are out of the zone. And like, I think it's kind of swayed a little bit on the extreme, right? It's like now we're seeing more Salvador Perez instead of Isaac Collins or Carter Jensen. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. So I do think, like, I think Cags is a player that can swing in extremes, but I still think he's still developing. And I do think that will start to stabilize over time. I do think that we're not going to see the passive guy that we saw in April and May, but I also think we're not going to see this uber aggressive guy that we've seen in July and August, especially I think starting next year. But what I'm liking to see is that the power is there, and I can live with the strikeouts and the low walks for now, with the idea that the base power skill, which is why they drafted him, is still like carrying him and carrying this team.
No doubt. And the thing that he didn't do last year, and the thing that I was still like, and you saw it, where he just did not take advantage of mistake pitches. Because he would get them, and he would either swing at it, swing and miss, or he would just beat it into the ground. Now you're seeing him elevate those mistakes, and those mistakes are flying over the fence. And it's like, oh, there's where all of this comes from. And it is just the extremes of strike one or ball one completely changes the at-bat for him. It is jarring if you've looked at the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
He's hitting 434 on the first pitch of an at-bat. And if it's 1-0, he's hitting 444. Yeah. But you get him 0-1, he's still hitting 353 because that's early in the count. But if it gets to 0-2, he's hitting 130. If it gets to 1-2, he's hitting 157. Yeah. Say he works it back to 2-2. He's hitting 038. It's 2 hits and 53 plate appearances in a 2-2 count. And when he gets 0-2, he has, like, obviously he can't walk, but he's worked it back full count, only 15 walks and 51 plate appearances. Yeah. Like, it's just it is just jarring the way that some of these numbers go. And obviously that is not exclusive to Jack, because you guys get 0-2 counts. Like, pitchers are that good. But just, again, to kind of living in the extremes, like you mentioned, it is just bizarre to see, like, how vastly different the numbers get for him. Maybe, and I would love to see it compared to the rest of the league, because it is really interesting.
Yeah, and I kind of wonder, just like, again, like, is this just an approach thing? Is this something the Royals hitting coaches just said, you know what, like, we're just going to live with that for now. We know that with 2 strikes, he's a little bit of a flawed hitter. I mean, the reality is like, Cags is a very cerebral guy. I mean, it's like you see him when he hits a ground ball or an easy pop-up, like you could see it that on his body language, it isn't always the best. And so, I think he just gets in his head a little bit too much with when he gets in those 2 strikes counts. But, I think that's something that takes time. We kind of saw that a little bit from Bobby his rookie year. Like, Bobby, his rookie year was a very big chaser, and he kind of had those times where it seemed like, okay, you got 2 strikes. It's, you can get him to swing out of the zone. So, it's still really early. And this was something, though, that, like, even, Cags at Florida, people said, like, he does chase a little bit. The problem is that he chased and he still made contact. He didn't strike out. Now he's facing better pitchers, and that's a lot harder to do. But like you said, I mean, I just it's nights like these that are very encouraging. And again, it's like you got a 20+ home run hitter in the outfield, which is something that's just missing for so long. And that's a nice building point, because now it's like, okay, we can just, if we go in free agency trying to build this team for 2027, we don't need to revamp the whole outfield. It's just like, maybe we get another guy that can kind of solidify things.
Yeah. And like, I remember coming into the year, I don't remember the exact projection, but I remember when I did I think I did it with Jack Johnson, where it was like, if you took the Zips projection for this guy, and you see that, are you hitting the button and just, are you locking in that stat line for the year? And I want to say for Jack, it was like he was hitting around 240, striking out about a quarter of the time, 21 to 24 homers, somewhere in that range, and like a 115 WRC plus or 120. It's like, oh yeah, I'm locking that in purely because of what it was the previous year. Like, that is a massive step up from what we saw him as a rookie. And right now he's hitting 264 with a 119 weighted runs created plus and 20 homers with still 50-something games to go, pretty close to it, or maybe a little bit under. And he's going to flirt with 30 home runs. He's going to flirt with 75, 80 RBIs. And that was a lot of that comes because he had, I think, 11 RBIs after May. Yeah. So it was a very, very low number. And so this is a lot of, when they moved him up in the order. And he's taken to hitting 3 really well, considering he was hitting 7th, he was hitting 6th. They maybe hit him 5th against righties. And then Vinny got hurt, and it was just like, you know what? Come hell or high water, you're hitting 3 for us. And they really haven't swayed from that at all. And really, now he's the most games that he's had this year is hitting third. And again, coming into tonight, obviously this number is going to change. But it's a 510 slug with a 792 OPS, hitting about 255 in the 3-hole for this team since they moved him there. That is what he's built in a lab to do because of his ability to drive in runs, hit homers. If Carter and Bobby get on, in front of him in that first inning, it could be 3-0 just that fast because of the type of hitter that he is. And he showed tonight, you make a mistake to him, he's going to park it. And we'll see what he continues to do. But obviously, this was hopefully a step forward for him because he is a streaky hitter. All dudes that are kind of his archetype are. And maybe he goes on one of those crazy heaters for the next week or so, like he did in June, when it just felt like anytime he came to the plate, this guy might hit a ball 460 feet.
Yeah. I mean, you look at StatCast and you look at kind of the similar batters to Caglianone. It's 2026 Helio Ramos, 2025 Jesus Sanchez, 2025 Agustin Ramirez, 2026 Samuel Basayo, and 2025 Ellie De La Cruz. So, I mean, those are, there's a lot of, upside there, but there's also, a lot of guys who are very free swinging. But I mean, I think right now, like, you got to feel good as a Royals fan to say, you know what, we can feel confident with our first 3 hitters. And our first 3 hitters are long-term hitters. These aren't guys like, well, Salvi doing well and he's 35, 36. No, these are guys who are going to be there long-term. And you think about bringing Michael back into this mix and what would be a healthy Vinny in this mix. And it's the nice thing is, like, we can move those guys down lower in the order because we don't need to depend on them because the Royals have been fine with kind of what they have for their top 3. That's a good place to be right now. It's something to think about as this team builds for 2027.
No doubt. And I want to pull up one more thing, and I'll kind of read off some of the stats because I tweeted this when Savant came out with that player comparison tool. We'll take a break after this. The comparison of this year's, like, Jack this year and Junior Caminero last year is pretty jarring. Like, it's not far off. The expected WOBA is within a couple percentiles of each other. Jack has a better expected batting average, expected slug, exit velo, barrel, and hard hit rates are all very, very almost identical. Chase rate, Jack's obviously chasing more. They walked about the same. Jack's strikeout rate's a little bit higher. But this year, and then you've seen Caminero this year even take a step forward this year because he's starting to walk more.
Yeah.
But also, much like Jack, Junior Caminero is 22, 23. Jack's 23.
Yeah.
So, like, these are really young hitters that have this unbelievable ability to find the barrel and to hit the living shit out of the ball. And now that they're even starting to elevate it more, like, Jack's launch angle sweet spot is below league average, but Junior Caminero's is like second percentile. He just hits swings so hard. Like, his bat speed is absolutely insane that he just catches the ball out front and it goes. When he's able to get pull side on the ball, I mean, there's not many guys like it in the league, but Jack is similar. And it shows the type of potential that he has. Jack has 45 plus homer potential, which is something we just don't see a lot of in Kansas City. We've seen guys have one-off seasons of that, but he's a guy that might be able to sustain 30 to 40 homers a year for the majority of his prime, before 35. And I do think it is an interesting comparison with another guy that is a young player still establishing himself, but a true power hitting guy that's 22, 23 years old, and the stats do bear that out.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think that's the big thing is exit velocity, bat speed is king, and I think that the Caminero comparison makes a lot of sense because if you can hit that ball hard, it's like that's going to make up for a lot of things, and we're starting to see Jack pull the ball in the air a lot more. I mean, he has 18.5% pull air percentage, and the more he can pull, especially with the revamped confines of Kaufman, because that's what it helps. It helps pull hitters. You pull the ball in the new Kaufman, you do well. If you hit the ball in the gaps, it doesn't really matter. It's the same. And I think that's why we've seen Bobby not benefit as much because Bobby lives in the gaps. And so it's I think there's a lot of really things to be excited about And we could see like even a bigger breakout if we can see that walk rate tick up a little bit.
Yeah, the walk rate is the thing I'm going to be watching for the rest of the year. I know that he's going to hit homers. I know he's going to hit balls 112. But when he gets 3-1, can he be willing to just get on base and not chase that changeup away thinking he's getting a heater, right? That's the thing that's the next step. Because a lot of okay, can he pull the ball in the air enough? Can he not hit the ball on the ground? We've seen him cut those things back. Cut the ground ball rate, increase the ability to hit the ball in the air. Now it's, all right, walk like 8%. Can you do that? Walk 8, 9%? I'll feel good. I don't need you to be Nick Kurtz and walk 15%. I don't need that. Just because it takes away some of the damage that he can do just putting the ball in play. Like there's a level to it. We are 20 minutes in. We do need to take a break. We'll be right back and talk about some of the rest of the game right after this.
David Starnes Allstate Insurance is a proud partner of KC Sports Network, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. If you are looking for new coverage or something that better suits your home, auto, health, or any of your other insurance needs, give Dave and his team a call. Elevate your coverage and be worry-free with David Starnes Allstate Insurance.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
The attorneys at Northland Injury Law have been serving the Kansas City area for over 40 years, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. They want to help you, and we don't get paid unless we get money for you. If you have a case, call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878 now.
You know that moment, the moment you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car or at the gas station 3 states away. Well, I've been there too. But then I found Shady Rays and it changed the game. These sunglasses are made for real life. Seriously good looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. And here's the wild part. You lose them or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now I actually wear my sunglasses without fear on hikes, at concerts, on the boat, wherever. They have sunglasses for golfing, fishing, hiking, and biking, even sunglasses for kids. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. Go to shadyrays.com and use code KCSN50 for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. All right, Kevin. So there was other things in this game besides Jack Caglianone coming to bat 4 times, although that was the best part of the night. If we're
it was.
to be honest. But I will say, and I didn't think that I would ever really be talking about this guy much for the rest of this year, just because it kind of is what it is. But Seth Lugo has turned in 4 consecutive quality starts, and considering where it looked like his season was heading, where it looked like the way the contract I think is probably underwater to some degree, considering what it has been since he signed the contract. But tonight gives you 6 innings, a 3-run ball with 5 strikeouts, and kept him in this game. 2 outs, hurt him, but it's hurt this Royals staff quite a bit, pretty much all year. 2-run double to Carson Kelly, a 2-run homer to Ian, or a solo home run by Ian Happ, which I don't even think it was really that bad of a pitch. Happ just kind of dropped the head on it. It was a curveball that if it's another 2 inches inside, he's probably fouling it off his foot, but it just stayed on the inside corner enough he was able to get the barrel on it and get it out. But I thought he pitched well. I thought he mixed it around the zone. He was in the zone a bunch. Walks have hurt him in some areas this year. Really didn't this year, which I thought was really, it was impressive to see. And he's kind of turned it around a little bit. And if he's able to be for, the next year, a low 4s, 3 or 4, yeah, paying him 20 some odd $1 million is not ideal for that amount. But a guy that's going to be, 36, going to be 37, you're willing to work with it if the rest of the staff around him, he isn't relied upon to be a 2 like he was for a couple of years. Like his role has just kind of shifted down in this rotation now. And it hurts because all the guys you looked at above him are all hurt or they're gone. So it does. There's going to be some work that needs to be done with this rotation, but he's done his job in the last 4 starts, and he deserves credit for that, for all of the negativity that surrounded him there for a couple of months after a good beginning of the season.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I thought, watching him, I thought his stuff looked pretty good. I thought his control and command looked a lot better. He had a couple tough innings there. And you got to remember, this is a 68-win Cubs team. This is not like he was facing.
It was a very, very good team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he was facing the A's or facing the Rockies like last time. It looked like he really bounced back from that Rocky start, which I thought he didn't. He got the quality start, but he really labored with his control. And I think that's the reality is if Seth Lugo is your 3 or 4 guy, maybe most likely a 4 guy, I think you can be a really good playoff team. And I think it's really hard that Lugo's first year in Kansas City was awesome, right? I mean,
yes.
Cy Young runner up, and that was probably always going to be the outlier. I mean, it just was. And I think sometimes that people have seen that and just saying, oh, that we should be expecting that all the time. And that's just not who he is. That's not, it's not fair to think that's who he is, but he's dependable. And in this day and age for pitching, you got to have guys that can eat innings, and you got to have guys that are going to keep you in games. And Seth Lugo does that. And there is a value to that. I mean, as much as I love the Cole Reagans can't stay healthy. As much as I love a Chris Bubich, he can't stay healthy. I mean, it's the amount of guys with Tommy John right now on the Royals roster is just like a laundry list right now. So, I mean, and I get it. Like, is this contract a little high? Absolutely. But I'll be really interested to see what some of these guys are going to get in free agency, because I guarantee you it's not going to look at Lugo's contract is not going to look as bad. But, but you also need guys that you can depend upon. And I think Lugo can do that. If he, like you said, if he's a low 4s guy, I think you got to be really happy with that. And I'm hoping that he's going to trend towards that towards the end of the year.
Yeah. So I misspoke, by the way. So 4 of his last 5 starts have been quality.
Okay.
Go back to 7-17 against the Padres, 6 innings, 1 earned run. Giants, 7 innings, 3 runs. Against Minnesota, 6 innings, a 1-run ball. And then in that last start in Colorado was 5 innings. I think he got into the 6th and then got pulled. I don't think he was out in the 6th, if I recall. And then that was where he gave up the 5 earned runs. So then tonight, obviously, goes 6 and gives up 3. So that qualifies as a quality start. But yeah, it's, considering where it was in May and June, we're like, man, I don't know what he's going to be able to give you. He's been able to fix it. And I think he talked after that Minnesota start where he changed up some of the way that he's mixing his pitches and changed a couple of things. I believe it was with a slider specifically that he talked about.
Yeah.
And that seems to have made a little bit of a difference for him, but the stuff played really well in the zone tonight. The bullpen held it down to their credit, especially in, we know what this bullpen is and what it has been, right?
Yes.
Schreiber got in and out of danger, and I give him a little bit of credit for the Houdini act. And again, God dog it. 2 outs, guys. What are we doing?
I know. Just
get that third out.
It's just like
because he gets the first 2, and you're like, okay, great. Like, here we go. And then he walks Tyrone Taylor and he walks PCA, but like walking PCA in that situation, like that's fine, whatever.
Yeah.
But then he ends up getting Seiya Suzuki on to strike out and get out of the inning. And that's fine. And, this is shocking because I just didn't expect John Schreiber to be on this team after the deadline. So, that was a little bit interesting. Yeah. And at that point it was a 1-run game because Jack hadn't hit the home run yet. So that was even bigger. And I did think this was interesting, and Curtis in the chat brought this up, that they brought out Steven Cruz for the 8th inning. I thought he was going to get the 9th, and I was like, oh, okay. And I didn't realize it at the time as I was watching, like who he was in there against. But it was against Michael Busch, Alex Bregman, Ian Happ, 3-4-5.
3-4-5.
And he gets through it in 4 batters, gives up a 2-out double to Ian Happ, but then gets Nico Horner to fly out, and that was the inning. But he got Michael Busch to ground out. He punched out Alex Bregman. That is going to be really interesting to see how he is utilized. I don't think they're solely going to give him the 9th inning, but using him in that type of role, I think shows a lot of trust in where he is at in his development and his career at this point. And I say development, but like he this is really his second full big league season. Like he debuted in 23 and it was a cup of coffee, and then he got like an espresso shot in 24. I think he was hurt a little bit, and that bullpen, like they didn't have really a spot for him at that time, even though that bullpen was not great to begin the year. I think he only threw like 5 2/3 innings. So really his second full big league season. And last year he was not asked to handle high leverage at all. I can't remember a time he threw in the 8th inning of a close game. So this is kind of a new spot for him, but he's handled it really well. Really since he came back from AAA after that blow up in Cleveland in early April. He spent like a month in AAA. And since then, it's a sub-3 ERA with well over a strikeout per inning. The walks he's still got to figure out a little bit. But again, with his ability to strike guys out, you'll handle some of that if the strikeout numbers are high enough, and that's what he's been able to do. So that is going to be one of the intriguing parts as well, is how often does he get the 9th? How often does he get the 8th or the 7th? If you got 2, 3, 4 coming up in a 1-run game, like seems like they're going to really trust him in that 2024 Lucas Ursig kind of fireman role, at least for now, as they kind of work through this bullpen as we go forward.
And I think that's the right move. I think right now it's okay to, like I said, this is a season
experiment.
where you
try stuff.
You
got to pick it up next year.
Yeah, and I think they, let's see what Cruz can do against the high leverage hitters, right? Against the big bats, and he held his own. He only had a 25% CSW, but he really handled the situation well. And then I think he really passed it off to Nate Pearson, who showed what he could do. Nate Pearson had a 37% CSW tonight.
That was really fun.
That was really fun, and especially when he got some of those punch outs. But I really like what Q is saying. It's like, look, you got stuff. I'm going to let the guys who have stuff go in the 9th innings. And I think that's what they need to do. It's like we've tried to do let's get the control guy. Let's see what a Stram can do in the control. And the reality is no, we need guys who can pump the gas. And that's what they did tonight. It's like, we're going to give it to Cruz. We're going to give it to Pearson. They're going to pump the gas, and we know they can sort of throw strikes. And I think Cruz, like you said, being demoted in April, his ERA was, I believe, around 14.40.
He gave up like 15 runs in Cleveland or something like that.
Yeah, and now it's down to 4.29. Just to see that the development he has. And this is an example of the Royals really targeting a guy and really developing him. He was acquired in the Michael A. Taylor trade.
And he was raw, but he threw 100. And there was a lot that needed to happen. That cutter has been the great equalizer for him because he was fastball slider, and the plane was so like his fastball is really like a little bit of arm side run, but very kind of flat. And that cutter just offers something a little bit different. And when he's got the thing going 95 to 97, man, that is a disgusting pitch to left-handed guys. And
I think that's where the Royals pitching development team really does well. I think they don't. If a guy doesn't have fastball, they're probably not going to help him get in.
They can develop sliders though,
but they can develop the sliders.
They can develop sliders. Pardon my language. I apologize.
Yeah, absolutely. They can develop those secondaries to really give them the extra oomph that they need. Cruz is a prime example of that. So, and I think with Carlos Duran, I think they're kind of hoping for a similar project that they got from the Dodgers. You're seeing Lucas Braun had a good outing in AAA Omaha. So, I think this is the molds, right? And I think especially as they build their bullpen, because you just can't spend a bunch of money on bullpen because, to be honest, so many of those bullpen guys are undependable. Obviously we've seen that with Matt Stram, but even the White Sox paid big money for Sir Anthony Dominguez, and he's no longer on the team. So I'm really curious to see who they're going to target because Cruz is a great success story. They need to find that mold and try to replicate him as much as possible.
Yeah. And I was at the game on Thursday, and I asked Q pregame about Cruz because I think he had closed out the game the day before.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what have you seen? And he said, and one of the things he mentioned, and I hadn't really thought about this much, that part of the problem at the beginning of the year was his arm angle was too high. So the fastball was it didn't have the same life that it did. And that was part of what they were working on in Omaha. I kind of deduced from that. And so it is lower than it was at the beginning of the year, which is giving that's where the Joe Ryan, Brian Wu, those low vertical approach angle guys that it gives that illusion that the ball is rising. Obviously it's not, but the way that, from where they're throwing it, even if it doesn't have elite spin, it's going to have that illusion of riding. And when you have a fastball that's rising at 100, good luck, man. Like, you're not touching it. And I'm going to be even more fascinated to see when they get Carlos Duran in this bullpen, and you can put those two guys back to back, 6-7, throwing 99 to 100. Good luck. Like, it's fun. And as long as they're not walking the world, it's going to be interesting. And Nate Pearson gets the save tonight, and he gives up the double. And, I'm sure that everyone else in Kansas City had the same thought of, oh God, here we go again. But right after that, he goes and gets Dansby to pop out, which was a huge out. It was like, if you don't get him, it's really going to get sketchy, and we're not going to be feeling good. But just stuck with the fastball. It was he had some life to it, 98, 99 with a little bit of onside run. Goes and gets Pedro Ramirez, and I thought this was the most interesting at bat of the night. He obviously gets PCA, but he goes, heater belt high and got a take on a pinch hitter, which I'm like, okay, that's good. He was trying to see one. I don't know what happened on that breaking ball that he tried to throw 0-1. It didn't break at all and nearly went to the backstop. Shout out to Carter for stopping it.
Yeah.
But he goes right back to it 1-1. And I'm like, that's some confidence in that pitch. And then he throws, and then he gets another one, where I'm sure Ramirez is geared up for a heater. He's geared up for 98, and the ball just drops off the table, gets a check swing, and that's the at-bat. But that curveball is so fascinating because it's a really slow pitch. Like, even for a guy, like when you see guys throw 98 and they got their breaking ball, it's like 86, 87, breaking off, super sharp. It's a big, almost like a changeup in a way, where it's 80 to 82. So you got a 16 mile an hour difference from fastball to curveball that you don't need a changeup in that case. Like, because it almost acts as that. And then he gets PCA, and like, as good as PCA is, he's going to chase a ton. You think Jack chases a lot. My God. That's all this. Like, there are times where I'm like, man, I don't know why anyone throws this guy a pitch in the strike zone at all.
Right.
But he gets him with a curveball late and, 2 strikeouts. And again, velo stuff, it all matters. It's not the end all be all, but it matters a ton, especially at the back end of a bullpen. It's nice to have your Sergio Romos of the world that are flipping sliders over to get rollover ground balls. You got to have 99, especially in this day and age. And the Royals have a couple guys now that they can go to with that type of stuff that you feel good about. And it's, Lucas Erceg was 98, but he can't get it by anybody. Like, you at least saw tonight with Cruz, he can get 98 swing and miss. Nate Pearson can get 98 swing and miss. Like that, it matters a ton, and it just increases your margin for error in these types of situations to be able to have something that you can get by a guy.
Yeah, and I think what the Royals are doing too is I feel like they're building a lot of depth, and I think what the big thing is this offseason is if they can get a really elite closer in some way, whether through trade or free agency. I think that could really put it together because, I mean, Cruz and Pearson, I think they're really good, but I think if you can get somebody that's really like a proven, dependable closer.
Proven, certainly.
Yeah, like maybe you can trade for a Trevor McGill from Milwaukee. Milwaukee's always eager to release their arms. I think like that could make necessary. I feel like the Royals are at a point where it's like you don't have to like add a whole new bullpen, but you have enough pieces that can be complementary pieces, but that you just have that solid guy that can finish it off. We kind of saw that to an extent last year with Estevez, right? Like Estevez kind of really was the solid closer that they need, and then the best of the bullpen really piggybacked on that. So I do think that there's some nice depth being. I don't think we have to necessarily see Cruz as like, oh, this guy's going to be the closer for the next 5 years. Let's just make sure that he's part of this bullpen in high leverage for next year at least. That's the important part.
I go back and I've thought about this multiple times, and this is a big kind of what if, fantasy land thing. But if you just copy pasted the 2025 bullpen onto this team, I think we're having a much different conversation about where they're at. I think that shows how important Carlos Estevez was last year. And I think that second game of the season and then him just not pitching, and obviously he got hurt and then he got hurt again, I think it colored the way that people viewed him as a reliever. But he was really good last year. He led the league in saves for a reason. Like, it was not the Carlos Estevez a couple of years ago, but he was still very good. And I think it just shows how important he was to that bullpen last year, just to be a true stopper in that ninth inning, just to been there, done that guy. This team really didn't have that this year. Then the guys that they did have that were proven got blown up, and it clearly got them between the ears. and that's why this team it's a big reason why this team is in the situation they are right now. They've lost 21 games where they had to lead in the 8th or the 9th.
Yeah.
You cut that in half, and we're having a real different conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the reality. And I know there's a mental aspect to all this. I know people say like, oh, like the stats are fine. They should have been able to overcome that. But the reality is, like, a lot of guys were put in roles that they just weren't used to. And the reality is Lucas Ursig just isn't a closer anymore. Matt Stram isn't a closer anymore. Like, so they were put in situations, and Alex Lang, he's been a closer, but he's not a closer anymore. And I think
he was always a Jimi Hendrix poster. That's all he was. And that ran its course.
Yeah. And I think I think that really threw things off, and guys were put in weird situations. And when you have somebody that's stable, like an Estevez, who, again, he was the second Royals player in franchise history to lead the league in saves. The other one being Dan Quisenberry. So I mean, that's pretty elite company that you're talking about. So I think you're right. Like, I think that really set the tone for the season. I think, and I think if you said, like, if you would have had the same bullpen as last year, this team is in the playoff hunt. This team is probably better than the Tigers, right? But unfortunately, it is what it is, and now the Royals are trying to search for answers.
I just had to look up because you said that Estevez was only the second. I was like, wait, hold on. I swore Greg Holland did. He led the league in saves, but it was the National League when he was with the Rockies.
Right.
He had seasons of 46 and 47 saves, and he never led the league. That's crazy.
I mean, I think it was like because Valverde, wasn't he like one of the big, like, there was like some weird closers that were just like piling up saves, even though Holland was much better.
Those years was Fernando Rodney.
Yeah.
And Valverde did it 3 times for 3 different teams. That's wild. That was like 2011 was the year that he had 49 saves for the Tigers.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting. And gets us off on a tangent. But yeah, Rodney was 2018. He had 48. Yeah.
48.
I think that was for Tampa or Seattle, one of the two.
King of the sideways hat, Fernando Rodney.
And if you thought Greg Holland had some sketchy saves sometimes, Fernando Rodney was terrifying.
Yeah,
because he would almost do the Satchel Paige thing where he would just walk the bases loaded just to make it more interesting, and then he'd get a strikeout and a double play and get out of the inning.
Yeah.
Jim Johnson in 2013. Shout out Victor, our lovely producer, for getting that for us. He was like 93, but it was like a bowling ball sinker.
Yep.
Like, I remember that. And then you had Britton a couple years later in the Orioles.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Orioles loved their sinker-inducing bullpen. I think that's kind of how they had success was, we're not going to get a lot of strikeouts, but we're going to get guys that are just hitting ground balls, and they just like went all in on those guys.
Did you ever hear the story of how Britton figured out how to throw that sinker?
I did not know.
So this was, I think he was maybe in the minors. Because he came up as a starter, and like,
right. I remember him as a starter.
Then he goes to the bullpen, and he's trying to throw a cutter, and however he was gripping the ball, like, it wasn't cutting, but it was sinking at like 97, and he's telling his bullpen coach or pitching coach, like, hey, I'm trying to throw this cutter, but it's not, I can't get it to work. And he throws a couple, and the pitching coach said to the effect of, don't change a thing. What are you doing? Like,
yeah, I mean, that's I mean, sometimes the best things happen by accident. So, and again, he was a guy, like, I remember him as like, him and Dylan Bundy were supposed to be like the future of the Orioles rotation, and then Britton just kind of found a role in the bullpen and was really good. So,
Bundy, shout out to Wausau, Oklahoma. He stunk.
Yeah, I know. I picked him up as a keeper in some fantasy leagues, hoping that he'd be good, but no, unfortunately, not a lot of great Orioles develop pitchers. Unfortunately,
not a lot of Orioles that are really panning out right now.
Yeah, and Gunnar Henderson might be gone this offseason.
That's why you don't hoard your prospects, folks.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Rays. Looking at you, Brewers. Cowards. Yeah. Anyways. We're off the rails now. That might need to be where we end this thing. But we don't get to do this often, obviously, this season because the Royals don't win a lot of games. But this is our toast game brought to you by Holiday Distillery. I have some Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond bourbon. Be sure to go find it if you can in any liquor stores in the area, or go out to the distillery in Weston. It's a great time. If you have not been out there, it's got to be Jack Caglianone. I mean, there's no other answer for this. I mean, you could shout out Seth Lugo, you could shout out Nate Pearson. That's great. The toast game is Jack Caglianone for a career night, a historic night for a Royals hitter. He is. I mentioned that he had one of 7 4 extra base hit games. He's one of 3 to have 4 extra base hits, and 2 of them being homers. It's him and who was the other one? God dang it, I missed it.
Was it Soler?
I'll find. No, it wasn't Soler.
Okay.
Not Kane. God dang it, I had it pulled up and I lost it. See if I can find it here.
Was it
It's not on the game. They don't have it specifically on the game notes. Regardless, one of 3 in franchise history. Appreciate you guys coming on here for a flash pod, a impromptu live post game, which means we're not going to have the post game tomorrow. So we're just doing one a week now. So we will be back next weekend with another live post game. Shout out to Kevin for doing this with me. Shout out to Victor for doing this kind of, again, last minute. I texted in that 8th inning. I'm like, hey guys, let's see if we can get something together. Glad we did. Appreciate everybody that watches us in the chat. If you're watching this after the fact, again, please like the video, subscribe. If you're on the audio side, leave a 5-star review. It does help this channel grow, helps more people see this content. We appreciate that. And we will talk next week, everybody. Have a good one.